Another reason why listings may go expired without a successful sale is I often see when a property is listed right, priced right, there's a lot of activity in the first few days. And keep in mind, the first 30 days of your listing, if everything is staged right on a ground footing, you should see the most activity within the first 2 to 4 weeks. That's when Zillow's gonna send alerts to everybody. That's when everybody's gonna look. Now, once again, it's very important that you Photoshop your property right. Now, before listing your property, perhaps you go on Zillow yourself as a would-be buyer, pretending as a would-be buyer. And most likely, if you're selling, most often people buy somewhere else. Now, switch your direction and look at your house as if you would be a buyer and ask yourself, what would I like? What wouldn't I like? What's most important to me when listing a property? Address all those issues to your respective agent when you meet with them, and see if he can meet all your requirements. And then you'll decide for yourself if it's the right agent or not the right agent. However, curb appeal is very important. Photoshop is important. Now, I often find it that sellers, it's just human nature, we're all human. And if they get a real strong offer on the very first day sometimes, or perhaps within the first week or two, they think that if they're waiting longer, they'll get a much better offer. And perhaps they pushed away a good, solid, qualified buyer. And now they're just waiting to find that same buyer, and the 2-3 months just go by and that buyer is not around anymore. And I remember personally, I can witness it. I once had a listing. I had a very strong, solid buyer, all cash deal. And he was offering short by $50,000-$60,000. And I explained to the seller that this buyer is now looking to buy and put his money somewhere within the next month or two. It's either a 1031 exchange or perhaps he needs to place money. Then once he finds a property, and that seller had happened to push away that buyer, and he found another property. He actually found a property that was priced much better, to be honest with you. But the seller was waiting for 9 months to find another buyer. That buyer paid $50,000 more. However, the seller paid taxes. The seller may have lost sleep some nights, anxiously waiting for another buyer to pop up and offer the price they wanted. So is it worth $50,000-$60,000 to go through all this? Be subject to bank financing when you have a solid cash buyer? Don't be greedy, because you'll be greedy, you'll lose everything. And often happens with equities, which I witnessed myself when I was a trader. When I bought a stock, it went up and it went up a lot. I became greedy and then it started plummeting. And then I was saying could have, should have, woulda, and the stock plummeted more and more and more and more. And I was just down more and more. Now, in terms of market conditions, we're now at December 2022. Nobody really knows where the market is heading. Nobody really knows where interest rates are heading now. Interest rates, thank God, stabilized over the last few months. That's also a big and crucial factor when selling homes. And I actually had expired listing appointment I went on, and the guy told me nothing sold in this strip for the last few months. I told him, really? And then recently a house on that block just sold almost for top dollar, because it's 45 days on the market only. And the seller probably must have gotten a very good offer to proceed with that offer. Otherwise, he would have waited a little longer. So he must have gotten on or about the asking price. So that seller should ask himself, what distinguishes that property from his property? Why did this sell when his didn't sell? So again, one of a few things may have happened. Either the agent didn't do the job right. Photoshop was a little weak. That had much more professional photos that I can tell you. I saw both listings. And if I were to take that listing, I would Photoshop it. That's one thing where he was lacking. Or perhaps the rates were higher by 2% early June, July, whereas now the rates are 6%. At that point, it was 8%. So for a buyer, it's a $700-800 difference a month. Could be that would be a deal maker or a deal breaker. Also, summer in terms of season and spring is usually a much stronger season than the winter. So I don't think the season is what caused it to sell quick. So it can be Photoshop, it can be the rate environment, and it could be it was just a desperate buyer. My guess is as good as your guess. However, I hope I can help you make decisions with selling your home and ground your house on a sound footing when selling it. not risking having an expired listing. Now, other reasons I find, which is unusual, sellers that are not really motivated, or sellers that really have a set price in mind for whatever reason. Either they pay off the loans, or for step B to happen, and they have to get a certain price, and if not, they just stay put, which is fine. So at least they know what they're heading for. But I don't want you as a seller to be misleaded and making the wrong choices and decisions and pricing a property on a very high price when you shouldn't be doing it. If you're really a motivated seller, it's not the time to do that. I hope you find this information useful. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.